Hey guys, alright, today we are back with another Knowledgia video. This time, why did Romania switch sides in World War II? Well, I believe there was a coup, and they were losing the war, so they wanted to pull in Italy and get the fuck out of there. You know what? That's my oversimplification of why Romania switched sides. See you guys in the next video. Alright, let's go ahead and get right into it.
In August 1944, the Axis forces were on the defensive. In the west, a new front was created in June after D-Day. Germans were fighting in central, in northern Italy, and in east, the Soviets were on a huge offensive on a gigantic
Don't forget southern
front line.
France.
Germany was in a very bad situation. But
That's
a
one
new
way to put
blow
it.
is about to happen on the date of 23rd of August 1944. At that date, King Michael of Romania joined with conspirators and opposition politicians in an attempt to arrest the head of the government, Marshal John Antonescu. The coup was successful. The king removed the government and the weapons were turned against Germany. But why did this happen?
Uno
For you
reverse.
to better understand the situation of Romania in the Second World War, firstly we have to go 132 years back in time.
That's a lot of years, my dude.
We are in 1812. In the aftermath of the Russo-Turkish War, which happened between 1806 and 1812, the eastern parts of the Principality of Moldova, known as Bessarabia, were ceded to Imperial Russia. In 1859, Moldova united with Wallachia in what will become Romania after their War of Independence. In 1917, in the wake of Russian Revolution, the area constituted itself as the Moldavian Democratic Republic, an autonomous republic part of a proposed federative Russian state. Bolshevik agitation in late 1917 and early 1918 resulted in the intervention of the Romanian army to pacify the region. Soon after, the Parliamentary Assembly declared independence, and then the union with the Kingdom of Romania. The Great War led to the achievement of the long-standing goal, and that was the creation of Greater Romania.
Big mania. Robignia. I'm trying to think of something like I said with Bulgaria, which I think I said Bigaria.
A national state that would incorporate all ethnic Romanians, which were divided for centuries. However, these new territories also included significant Hungarian, German, Russian, and Ukrainian minorities. Thus, the relations with Hungary and with the new authoritarian regime of the East weren't so good. In the first years of the interwar period, the situation was very good. The economy grew substantially, and Romania found itself as a major actor of Southeast Europe. King Ferdinand, who unified the country after the Great War, died in 1927. And after his death, an era of political instability is about to start.
Oh no.
Carol, who will become Carol II, was the eldest son of Ferdinand I, and became crown prince upon the death of his grand uncle, King Carol I in 1914. His life was marked by numerous scandals, among them marriages to Zizi Lambrino in 1918, and then to Princess
Oh, so he had multiple.
Helen of Greece and Denmark in 1921. Then he had continued affairs with Magda Lupescu, and this
Yo, man, chill out with your desires.
obliged him to renounce his succession rights in 1925 and leave the country. King Ferdinand died in 1927, and Carol's 5-year-old son ascended the throne as Michael I.
Oh yeah, didn't Michael the First actually just die recently, like a year or two ago? I think it was in 2019, I want to say. I remember that getting pretty popular.
Because Michael was still a minor, a regency council was instituted. Carol then returned to Romania in 1930 and replaced his son and the regency that had been in
Give it back, yeah.
place. His reign was marked by political turmoil, huge instability, and in final, evolved into a personal dictatorship beginning in 1938.
Les toi, c'est moi.
Due to the political situation of
I think I pronounced that right. Don't tell the French I tried speaking French. Say I said it wrong.
Europe at the time, combined with its internal struggles and its geographic position, Romania found itself in a very delicate posture. The war was on the horizon, and the only guarantee of Romania's integrity was France and Great Britain. On the 21st of June, 1940, France signed an armistice with Germany, and Great Britain focused
Message from France. I surrender. I'm in danger. Message from Great Britain. I'm in danger too.
on its defense.
But I can't be
Romania was
invaded because Royal Navy.
alone. In the summer of 1940, a series of territorial disputes were diplomatically resolved, unfavorably to Romania, resulting in the
Yo, that is some ugly borders there. I stand with the Romanians on
loss
this.
of most of the territory
We like pretty matte painting here, okay? Let that be established.
gained in the wake of World War I. On June 26, 1940, at 2200, Soviet People's Commissar Molotov presented an ultimatum to evacuate Bessarabia and North Bukovina. The king communicated his wish to stand against the Soviet Union, but was under the pressure of Germany and Italy. Carroll accepted, and then again, under these pressures, Romania lost northern Transylvania and southern Dobruja. This caused the exile of
Screw you, Hungary.
Carol II in 1940, and the installation of a new dictatorship
Bulgaria in the
government
south.
under Marshal
And the
John
Soviets. Screw you
Antonescu.
too.
Carol was succeeded by his son Michael, who was only 18 at the time. Although the young king was formally
like a
the
Chad.
supreme head of the
That's an alpha male right there.
army and had full powers, in reality he was forced to remain just a figure, being considered by the head of the government as just an unexperienced child. The new government collaborated with Germany and joined the Axis in November 1940. The new goal of the state was to regain some, if not all, of the lost territories. In 1941, Germany and its allies prepared for the invasion of the Soviet Union. In June 1941, the offensive began. After a short time, Bessarabia and the northern Bukovina were fully reincorporated into the Romanian state. And initially, the Romanian army wanted to stop there. The goal was reached, and Antonescu hoped to regain the northern Transylvania territory by diplomatic means. Germany persuaded Antonescu in August 1941 to also take control of the Transnistrian territory as a substitute for northern Transylvania. Also, more discussions were promised on this matter, if Romania was to continue the struggle in the east. More and more divisions were sent to fight for what a country study by the U.S. Federal Research Division of the Library of Congress attributes as a morbid competition with Hungary, in hopes of regaining northern Transylvania.
So by sending men to war, they were hoping... So Hungary was sending men to war in hopes of maintaining... I'm understanding the quote right, which I probably am not. Were they, like, competing with each other in the war in who could aid the war, the German war effort the most, so that Hitler would side with either Romania or Hungary in terms of what happens to northern Transylvania? Am I understanding that right? I don't think I am. But I think I also might be.
As a member of the Axis, Romania joined the invasion of the Soviet Union on the 22nd of June, 1941, providing equipment and oil to Germany, as well as committing more troops to the Eastern Front than all the other allies of Germany combined.
Damn.
Romanian forces played a large role during the fighting in Ukraine, Bessarabia, Stalingrad, and elsewhere. According to historian and author Mark Axworthy, the Second Axis army in Europe arguably belonged to Romania, though this is disputed, since many would agree that this position goes to the Italian army. In February 1943,
It could be disputed. I mean, the Italians were pretty... The Italian army was pretty shit. The Romanians are... And with the focus on the Eastern Warfare, I don't know how many Italians were fighting on the Eastern Front. If it's mainly Germans and Romanians fighting on the Eastern Front, I would argue the position that then Romania is the second army of Europe or whatever that he was saying a couple seconds ago. At least that's how I would look at it, because of just the Western Front was a war of air superiority and naval dominance, not so much of soldiers on the ground. Of course, that's what it would come to towards the end, but really, the Eastern Front was a war of just men. Western Front was more of air power and ship. That's at least how I look at World War II. You know, between different sides.
With a decisive Soviet counteroffensive at Stalingrad, it was growing clear that the tide of war was turning against Axis powers. In August 1944, Romania was fighting on its own territory. The situation was critical. In order to not wage war on his own territory, King Michael considered to change the government. On the 20th and 21st of August, some meetings were held.
The king had a meeting with military leaders. The ruling ruled in favor of the coup. There was a meeting with political leaders in which the participants agreed on the plan established the previous evening.
With the political leaders and army officers in order to establish a plan to get Romania out of the war against the Soviets. On August 23rd, Jean Antonescu instructed the king to request a hearing at 4 p.m. In the discussion that followed with the king and lasted over an hour, the marshal presented in detail the situation on the front line. When the king asked him to get out of the war and sign an armistice with the Allies and Soviet Union, Marshal Antonescu replied that he would end the armistice with the approval of Germany and with some guarantees. He also said that he did not object in principle to the exit from the war. His own government tried to obtain favorable terms for an eventual armistice with the Soviets through Stockholm for some time, but he has to refuse it, arguing with the difficult conditions of armistice.
I love how Sweden and Switzerland, mainly Sweden's just kind of chilling in this war. They're like, yeah, we'll be the third party.
In relation to
the world is on fire, and Sweden and the Swiss are just like chilling. And yeah, we're doing good.
The Soviet
We're making
Union,
money.
Which annexed Bessarabia and northern Bukovina. By signing an unconditional surrender, these territories would probably be lost, and Romania would have been occupied by communist forces in the end. Also, he argued about the turning of arms against Germany, not seeing betraying your old ally as an honorable thing to do for a military officer. Then, the king was forced to use the password. If things are so, then we have nothing left to do. Hearing the words, a colonel which was waiting outside for the signal entered the room with a group of 4 soldiers who arrested the
Din no ordin sinteti aresta? Dude, I can't speak Romanian.
marshal. At 2200 in a radio message, the king announced that
in the hardest hour of our history, I considered in full agreement with my people that there is only one way to save the country from a total catastrophe. Our exit from the alliance with the Axis powers and the immediate end of the war with the United Nations. A new government of the National Union has been tasked to fulfill the country's determined will to conclude peace with the United Nations. Romania has accepted the armistice offered by the Soviet Union, the United Kingdom, and the United States of America. From this moment, the fight and any act of hostility against the Soviet army, as well as the state of war with the United Kingdom and the United States, ceased. Receive the soldiers of these armies with confidence.
The change of government and the new path that Romania was on. Formal Allied recognition of the de facto change of orientation of Romania in the war came on the 12th of September 1944. Until this date, Soviet troops started moving into Romania. 140,000 Romanian troops were taken as prisoner of war. About 130,000 Romanian POWs were transported to the Soviet Union, where many perished in prison camps. Romania fought against Axis forces until the end of the war, gaining the lost territories in the West at the peace conference. The presence of the Soviet army on the territory forced the communists to come to power. On November 19th, 1946, the first post-war parliamentary election.
On November 19th, 1946, the elections in Romania were falsified by the commies because of the presence of the Red Army on the territory of the country and because of the political intimidation.
Although the real results indicated the decisive victory of the Peasant National Party. But the probably falsified official results presented the victory with over 70% of the bloc of democratic parties led by communists. The king was again a little more than a figurehead under the communist regime, and on December 30th, 1947, he was finally forced to abdicate and leave the country. The new regime was installed with full powers as a puppet of the Soviet Union.
I like that transition of the symbol there. That was smooth. I like
What Antonescu feared the most just happened. Michael remained in exile for much of his life. After almost 42 years, the Romanian Revolution happened. The communism was overthrown. But on the new democratic elections, former communists were elected in key positions. At the Christmas
I am a Democrat now. We controlled the government through fear and tyranny as the communist leadership, but now I'm a Democrat.
of 1990,
because I don't want to lose my power and money.
Having a legal passport, the former king came back to visit. Fearing a possible massive support for the former king, he was stopped by a police dam, driven back to the airport, and forced to leave the country.
Aw.
1992, he made a new short visit, and hundreds of thousands of people came back to see him.
Aw.
In 1994, he was again refused to enter the
Aw.
country, and finally, in 1997, Michael gained back his citizenship. On December 5th,
That poor dude. Most of his life, he couldn't live in the country he tried to save. Well, I guess he did, in a way, save it, at least from total catastrophe. Didn't necessarily save it from Moscow rule, but, you know, he did what he could.
2017, King Michael I died at 90.
Oh, 2017? Was that long ago? No. Hold on. Was it already that long ago?
2017, King Michael I.
It was 2017. Wow. Shit.
Died at 96 years old. The decision of the 23rd of August 1944 is considered by many an act of salvation of Romania. By others, it is seen as an act of betrayal. But at that time, Romania was in a very delicate
Oh, I say that was
situation.
salvation. I don't
Joining
think
the
that's
Axis
betrayal.
and then switching sides was based on its desire to survive against two totalitarian regimes. If you want to see more videos, be sure to subscribe to our channel and press the bell button in order to be notified when a new video is uploaded. We would like to give special thanks to our generous supporters.
That was a good video. But I think that was a good length. I think they covered the information that they needed as well. I don't really think they needed to spend much more time on this video. I think this was perfectly well length. Cover the necessary context, and then just the events of what happened, and then the events of the coup. You don't need to talk about the war that's going on. You just have to be like, oh yeah, the Soviets started marching into Romania, and then Romania was like, yo, have a coup. But nice that they gave a good amount of information. But aside from that, I have nothing else to add here. That was a good video. That was Why Did Romania Switch Sides in World War II by Knowledgia. I hope you guys enjoyed. Remember to hit that like button and subscribe for more, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.